I'm at PlayCon with Sam McDonald, a game designer who's done quite a number of games. Sam, how are you going? And can you tell me a little bit about your career in games?
Yeah, sure. I'm loving it at PlayCon. I'm already thinking that we want to come over to Sydney from Wellington. I live in Wellington, New Zealand. I'm wanting to come over to this every year if it keeps happening. It's just a really special vibe. My career in games started in about 2017, 2018 when I pitched a game which has now become Architects of the West Kingdom to my friend Shem Phillips. We were in a band together, so I was really blessed to actually know someone to help me I could ride on his coattails into the industry. And that whole process of designing and developing a game alongside Shem was incredibly satisfying, and I just really wanted to keep doing it. That whole problem solving and seeing a game move from something that has potential to something that is more and more fun each time you play it. That level of growth that happens when you develop a game was just something that I really love doing. So it started off as a hobby, and now managed to make it full-time job, which I feel really blessed to be able to do this, and we're having a whole bunch of fun.
Because I think we've really seen it develop sort of Architects of the West Kingdom trilogy now, the South Tigris trilogy, as other games. How have you found when you can sort of, with each of those trilogies, is sort of take a game design sort of philosophy, sort of twist it for each title, and then move on to something else?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're always kind of striving to bring something new to the table, both in the physical sense, but metaphorical sense too. We want to add something to the game design conversation, so we're always wanting to innovate. Now, innovation is like a two-sided coin because we love to have something fresh and unique and new, but at the same time, that makes it harder for players to learn. Because not only are they learning a new game, but they're actually having to learn a new subsystem to play the game. So when we innovate, we're learning that actually the games are getting heavier and heavier just in order to bring something new. Players don't necessarily understand it. So we're trying to keep that balance right, not innovating too much that everything is way too new and people don't understand it. So we want to have a level of familiarity with mechanisms, but then a unique, fresh twist, an aha moment that was cool kind of thing. Yeah.
You talked about your co-designing with Shem. Obviously, I think you guys are probably one of the biggest outputs from New Zealand. Can you talk a little bit about, is there a sort of a New Zealand design philosophy at all?
Not sure about a New Zealand design philosophy, but there is a community of game designers. We meet up at least once a year as a whole crew, and we book out this batch and we play test each other's games, 20, 30, 40 of us. It's a really good time. And then that group breaks up into smaller regional groups to meet up monthly or every few months, I guess. But the New Zealand design philosophy, I can't really speak to it, but the Garfield Games design philosophy, we've got some real core things that we try to strive for in all of our games. We call them the ABCs. A little bit rude, but a little bit on the nose. So the A is agency. We want players to feel a level of control and a level of creativity when they play the game. So not only we want the decisions that they make to feel important and impactful, but we also try to create essentially a canvas for players to express themselves when they're playing the game, so that not only are we the ones that are being creative in making the game, but the players, when they play, they feel like they've taken a creative line of play that is viable for winning the game. So agency is a really big thing for me, many different paths to victory. And then the B and the C is butt clenching. So we want that edge of your seat sort of feeling, that feeling of tension and excitement, and I just can't wait for my next turn, so that players are watching what other players are doing and they're a little bit stressed. Are they going to steal the spot that I wanted to go to? That kind of vibe. And I find that is a really cool thing to strive for, those edge of your seat sort of moments. Yeah.
Now, we've seen a couple of different games out here. What are you viewing showing off at PlayCon, and what's the response been?
Yeah, so this one here is Ezra and Nehemiah. That has only just come out at retail. This is a pretty heavy Euro game set in ancient Jerusalem. So this is part of our ancient anthology line, where we design games based on some ancient periods of history, a bunch of different cultures and civilizations. And the reception for this has been great so far. I've been really thankful that people have enjoyed it. There are different paths to explore, and people, you can kind of see that after a few turns, the game starts to click for them, and they realize things they could have done differently for efficiency, which I actually think is a good thing, because you want to come back to the game and have something to learn and pursue mastery over the game. So this has been received well. Over there, we've got Inventors of the South Tigris, which is the newest, freshest game that isn't even out at retail yet. We've run a Kickstarter for it, and we just had a blast playing a game. I got to play a few rounds when someone bailed out, not because they weren't enjoying it. So that is probably our heaviest game to date, but the people had familiarity with our icons and that sort of thing, so it wasn't too bad for them. And Bobby Hill has been showing off the Anarchy like crazy. I think he's done 3 or 4 demos of that so far, and I think there's more to come.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the looking back and be like, oh, I could have done it this way, because I think that sort of drives, oh, next time I play, as opposed to, oh, that game was fun, full stop. The other point I want to make is, you talked about the games getting a bit heavier. Is there any drive to go lighter again with some of these games, or are you happy with the sort of the level, the weight and the complexity, with especially with icons, with Garfield being similar across other games?
Yeah. There's a yes and no to that. We're happy with the weight that these games are, because we're designing games. It's a little bit of a selfish mentality and philosophy, but we're designing games that we enjoy, that we want to play. And the reason is because what those design philosophies that I talked about before, we need to have many. I want to have many paths to victory in a game, so it has to be kind of broad for players to be able to express themselves creatively in that. And to get those right, to get the balance of that right, we need to play it lots and lots of times. So we better like the game, because we're going to be playtesting it a lot, and we really do. But the South Tigris line of games has been noted to be quite heavy. And I think one of the reasons for the complexity is not only the many paths, but that whole innovation thing I was talking about earlier, how in all of them, we've introduced a new way to use dice. So players have to learn a new dice system just to take their actions, and then they have to learn the game, what the actions do. And so that was one of the restrictions that we put on ourselves with the South Tigris. We sort of have these sub-themes, sub-mechanical themes for each of the trilogies, and the restriction for the South Tigris was that we wanted to use dice as the key action-taking system for all of these games. So in the next trilogy, in the next games, we're not necessarily using dice, and so I think that will tend to make them a little less heavy than what those games have got to. But having said that, games sort of have a mind of their own, and so if a game ends up being heavy, we're not going to stop making that game because it's heavy. We're not going to go out there trying to make it really, really light. But we do want to keep it streamlined. We want to make it so that players can learn the game. So my guess would be the next games will be a little lighter at this point.
Sam, thanks for chatting about your designs and what's been happening at PlayCon. Thank you very much.